What am I saying when I introduce myself again?
I think I'm introducing us.
Yes.
Okay.
But then when we introduce ourselves, like, hi, my name's Jolie. I forgot what I said, but I remember now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Knocking the Books. This is so exciting. This is our third episode.
We're officially a toddler.
We're out of the terrible twos into the things. But our twos weren't terrible. But Knocking the Books is a show. Is this a show? I don't know. I
It's a
should have.
show. It's a book club.
It's a book.
It's a YouTube channel. It's a podcast. It's a
It's a
conversation.
it's a moment. It's a lifestyle.
It's a moment. It's the room where it happens.
Okay, yes, I always wanted to be in that room, but it's so silly today. But yes, Knocking the Books is me, Melissa, and Jolie's book club where we read a book every month, mostly by Black authors, mostly romance, but that could change in the future. We'll see. We're keeping it open, and we come here to discuss it with our greater community, which hopefully is growing. Um, so
Who are
this
you?
I'm Melissa. And I do want to say last year I read 13 books. And this year I was like, well, let's see if I can do like 26 maybe, because like two a month. But then Albert, that's my boyfriend, he was like, I don't know. He was like, maybe like take it down a little bit just so you don't like, because he knows me. And if I don't want to be disappointed by the end of the year. So I was like, okay, let's say 18. And if I surpass that, that's great. So trying to do 18 this year.
I love that. I'm Jolie. My reading goal this year is to read 50 books this year. I have read one and a half so far. But last year, every year, normally my goal is to read 12, like one book a month. I'm like, I can manage that, right? But last year I read 24 books. I'm like, oh, like I read double the amount of books that I was thinking about doing, and it was pretty easy. So I'm like, let me double that. Let's like round it up and go to 50 this year. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to achieve that by doing a lot of rereading of books that I already know I like. So I'll keep folks posted on how that goes. But this month we read a very special book. It's called Mary Inkmas. This is the cover. Oh, you have like a physical copy.
I
I'm
do.
jealous. Mine is all backwards.
I can let you borrow it.
Thank you. Hand it to me through the screen. Hold
Yeah.
on, wait. Hand it to me. Now it's
There you go.
digitized. Look at that. The magic of cinema. Hi. Mary Inkmas is a delightful little book by Talia Hibbert. She's a romance writer. She's known mostly for her Brown Sisters trilogy, starting with Get a Life, Chloe Brown. In her newly released YA romance, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, which was nominated for a Goodreads book choice book of the year thing, whatever their thing is. A Goodreads award. She was nominated for a Goodreads award. Mary Inkmas is a very typical Talia Hibbert book. It follows a will they, won't they. I was going to say slow burn romance, but it burned pretty quickly. But it is a
Yeah.
novella, so maybe it's meant to move a little faster. Anyway, it's about Cash, a brooding tattoo artist, and Bailey, a former barista turned psychology student who becomes an assistant to work in Cash's studio. And throughout the novel, Cash and Bailey become closer, even though they both have reservations due to traumatic events in each of their individual childhoods. So Cash has like a rule about not getting serious with any girl, and like Bailey has a lot of issues on her own and doesn't want to waste her time. But the question is, are they willing to cross the line for love? And the answer is yes, obviously. It's a romance book. So Melissa, if you could describe this book in one word or one sound, how would you describe it?
My word is cute. Simply just cute.
Okay. My word is tension. There was some tension in multiple ways. My sound is also a word. It's really like I was like, oh, sure. Do you have a sound?
I mean, I feel like my sound is very similar to my word. Just like, oh, that's cute. Like, yeah, cute, cute.
We're both like,
Yeah.
okay. Initial thoughts before we jump into our discussion questions. Do you have any key takeaways, favorite quotes, favorite moments, surprises or anything that you weren't expecting or that you were expecting? What were your initial thoughts?
Um, I mean, like I said, this book is cute. It's like kind of Hallmark-ish, but with more spice, of course.
Yeah.
Um, I think I was surprised by Bailey's, what word do I want to use here? Her
Promiscuity?
yeah, sure. Like her and I mean we'll get into it more later probably, but it kind of felt like she was like had to not be like the good girl that people perceive her to be or something. Like
Hmm.
it felt like that's
Hmm.
what she was doing. And I'm just like, girl, just be you. But I mean, if you want to get down like that, okay.
Literally get down like that. For me, I feel like this book, like cute is a perfect way to describe it. It felt like a really sweet cup of coffee. Like it's still coffee. It has like its strength and its like strong moments. But it's mostly sugar. It's mostly sugar and milk, and it might make your stomach hurt a little bit. But it was good. I think it was a pretty decent book. Let's get into some of the spoilery-ish discussion questions. Did you have any favorite characters or least favorite characters? There's a lot of characters in this book, but they don't have a lot of dialogue, but I'm curious if there's anyone that stood out to you.
Um, what was her friend's name? Uh, the formerly houseless man. Was that John?
John, yeah.
John was really sweet. I would have liked more
Yeah.
of John. I
I
thought he
would
was
have
cool.
loved more of John. I would have loved a whole book about John, not a novella, like a full-length novel about John's life, how he became houseless, how he met Bailey, his relationship with the guy after he started his job. John's whole story just seems so inspirational, and I want more of John. John was my favorite character too. You
Yeah.
got a least favorite?
I mean, I feel like because last time I hated our main character too, but like Bailey and Cash were just getting on my nerves. It's just
They're
like,
annoying.
come on. Like, yeah, they were
I
getting on my nerves.
I hate every main character in most books that I read, so I'm all for that. My least favorite character was actually Jay, like the black guy who worked at the shop. I don't know. This may be controversial, but Talia Hibbert seems like she is allergic to writing black men in a positive light. Like all of her love interests are black women with non-black men, which is I love the diversity. It's super cute. But it just seems like there's never any like decent black male characters in her stories. And it's something that although I love her writing and I love her books, it kind of turns me off a little bit. And Jay was just written really annoyingly and goofily and like he was getting on Cash's nerves just by existing, and it was weird. I didn't like his characterization in the book. We can feel free to cut that if we don't want to. I don't give a fuck. It's my book club. I'll say what the fuck I want.
I
Although
mean,
I do like you, Talia Hibbert. Please follow me back. Okay.
this is only my second Talia Hibbert book. The other one I read in our original iteration of this book club,
Hmm.
The Princess Trap. But yeah, that was
Yes.
another black woman, white male. He was white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, he was from a fictional European country, but
Okay.
like,
Yeah. So
yeah, he was
yeah.
white and thick. I will say this, Sally Hibbert is real good at body diversity. Her characters be meaty. They are thick. The women are curvy, ample ass, usually tiny tits, but whatever. But like the men, they be, I mean, thighs rubbing together, starting fires, forearms like logs. Like Talia Hibbert, the descriptions are top notch. They are there for sure. Do you have a favorite line or just scene in the story that you want to talk about?
Um, I did like it when they went to his family's home and like the mom was so cute and just so like
Yeah.
real, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep cooking because y'all need to eat or this, that. Like I
Yeah.
like the mom a lot in that part of the book.
Yeah, I also like that a lot. But it's like when I invite someone to my house after I'd only known them for like 3 weeks max, like, hey, meet my whole family and my mom and all the children and stay with me. I don't know. I don't know. I've met someone's mom like after like one date before. So I get it. I mean, guess when you know, it's fine.
I tricked
Um,
someone into meeting my parents once.
Your parents are delightful though. So who's the real winner here? I do have a favorite line. It's midway through the book. It's like right when the tension between Bailey and Cash is like meeting like a peak, and but it hasn't been satisfied yet. That's not a good word for that. But it's when she says boring guys finish last, nice guys finish wherever they want. I thought that line was such a good way to flip the nice guys finish last trope on its head a little bit. First of all, she said it in a sexual way, which she was talking about ejaculation. Woo. But I've always felt personally like when people are like, "Oh, nice guys finish last," girls don't like nice guys. They like bad boys. No girl willingly goes up to a man who is like, "Hey, girl, I'm gonna waste your time and make your self-esteem plummet into hell." Like, no one does that. And like girls like nice men. Girls don't like boring guys. If you can't speak, if you can't hold a conversation, if you're not showing any interest in us or any interest in your own life, then what are we doing there? It's not a nice guy issue. It is a boring guy issue. And I want everyone to remember that. Boring guys finish last. Please be nice. Be as nice as you want to be. That's always a good thing. But yeah, that was my favorite line. From the book. And it also kind of came out of nowhere for Bailey a little bit, like because Bailey has like these moments where she's like, "Oh, I'm really reserved. I'm just like a dork in my glasses, and I don't really do anything." And then suddenly she's just like, "Hey, can I suck your dick under the table?" She's like, "What? What? Which is it, girl?" I mean, I get it. Contain multitudes. We learned this from Sister Soldier in the last book,
Is
but
it Ushiwali or is it one bite?
that, with her, I genuinely don't know. Like she was really, it was no slow progression. It was no, "Oh, I'm coming out of my shell."
No.
It was just like, "Oh, I'm just coming now." Like, okay, great. Love that. Love that for you though. I love that for you. Um, Speaking of Bailey, she has like issues in her past or in her life. Do you want to talk about what those are a little bit for our readers who may need a refresher?
Yeah, so with Bailey coming up with her mom, things were a little rough. But her mom was, you know, very beautiful and was able to use men to, get certain things, but it kind of like go back and forth like, oh, we have this, but now we're back on our butts living out of a hotel or maybe living out of a car or something. So that was kind of her upbringing. And I think all of that, affected her and how she sees relationships in men and not wanting to feel like, oh, I need to be saved. I can do it on my own. I don't have to be like that. And of course, like in present day, her mom has passed on and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we only hear of her in flashbacks. And honestly, I feel like I would have liked a little more of the flashbacks from, coming up with her mom and the experiences they went through. I
Yeah.
thought that would have been interesting.
What is interesting is that like in the flashbacks kind of contradict. Also, my fan is it's turning off now. My computer fan turned on. Sorry. I apologize for the audio. Everyone have an old computer. But what I was saying, the flashbacks actually kind of contradict kind of what Bailey's issues with her mom are a little bit. Like she keeps talking about like how her mom was really flighty and like not really present and really prioritized men. But every flashback she kind of has, like it's kind of a fond memory of her mom, like of them spending time together, of them living together, of them watching movies and eating food together. And it's interesting to me that this book kind of un it caught me unawares in the way that it really addressed some mental health issues, which is something else that Talia Hibbert is really good at in the neurodiversity of her characters. Like she was able to kind of see that she held like a strong grudge against her mom by the way like she prioritized men throughout her life. But in her thought processes, you kind of see how her mom prioritized her. And even the men she dated was all an effort to take care of Bailey better. You know what I mean? And Cash has his own trauma as well. Like Cash had an abusive parent in his life. His father was really abusive to his mother, and she like tried to run away, and they all ran away together, but his father kept finding them and like was trying to kill them, and it kind of culminated in Cash and his father getting into an almost deadly fight and his father going to jail. um the thing is that both Cash and Bailey, like, their traumas kind of inform how they enter new relationships. Like, Bailey doesn't get serious about any men, and Cash won't get serious about any girl. And I'm curious to know if you think that they are justified in their reservations in their love lives, and if you think that by the end of the novella, if they effectively resolve their respective trauma.
I think they're justified to a point because like I get being like wary of new situations and everything with everything you've been through in the past, but I also feel like it's like, you know, we're humans. Most of us kind of like crave romance, relationships, all of that. And obviously like
We need
both of these
it.
people do. So I feel like, you know, why fight that? You know, like at some point you have to be like, you know what, I need to work through these issues and figure this out so that I can be as happy as I want to be.
I
And
agree.
like by the end of the book, I mean, I feel like we miss all that. Like if they did actually like go to therapy or do this, that, and the third, we don't really know
True.
because it's like just time jumping, like, oh, we're married and
We have
pregnant
three
now.
children now.
Yeah, like we have
I
three
hope so.
beautiful brown children with curly hair.
They do.
But yeah.
Yeah. I I think that I agree with you that like they eventually learn that their desires for companionship are more important than like their struggle to like hold on to the pains of their past a little bit. And I like that they found each other. Like, they both have reasons to have issues with the parent, and I hope that they can come get over it together. There's actually a line in the story. Let me pull up my digital copy really fast. Um, there's a line in the story, like toward the end, where Bailey says something to Cash after she talks to his mother, and his mother tells her like the whole story of their childhood. And basically says that like Cash pushes people away, like that's just what he does, because he has all these intrusive thoughts about the type of man that he's going to be, like his father. And Bailey confronts Cash later on toward the end of the book, and she says, um intrusive thoughts can't tell you who you are, only you decide that. If you need to push people away to feel safe, I understand, but pushing people away for their safety is an entirely different thing. And I thought that was just like a really profound way to express that our issues, our trauma, our mental health and healing journey is a personal journey. Like, we can't control other people and shouldn't be trying to control what other people do in their lives. We can only kind of control ourselves. And that to me felt like a moment where Cash kind of had like an aha moment of like, oh, like pushing people away isn't making me or anyone happier. It's not keeping anyone safe. It's kind of making everyone around me miserable, including myself. So I'd like to think that they resolved some things with each other. I mean, they got a bunch of kids, so I hope so. At the very least, they're still fucking, and that's good. Good for them.
So do you have any relationship or dating slash love rules that you're not willing to break or boundaries you don't cross?
Mm. I wrote this question and I don't know. I mean, I want to say that I respect the fact that both Cash and Bailey have like their boundaries, where Cash is like, I think their boundaries are really extreme. Like, Bailey is just like, oh, men are just for sex and nothing else. And Cash is like, I don't date a woman for longer than 90 days. Like, those are such like arbitrary rules. My issue is that I lack boundaries completely in relationships. Um, so if I could create some boundaries, some healthy boundaries, unlike Cash and Bailey, maybe maybe I make sure that I completely trust the person and their health history before I engage in any sexual activity with them, or maybe I make sure we're secure and in a stable place before I introduce them to my family so I don't have any embarrassing moments like Bailey and Cash when they at the table. He's like, I don't love her. I don't even know her. That shit was so fucked up. Like, you couldn't just lie. Like, you're clearly living a lie already. Why not just be like, oh yeah, this is my girl? Like, because why the hell else is she there? Like, why did you bring her to Christmas at your mother's house with your whole family if she's just like, oh, this is just my coworker? Get out of here. Get out of here. Lies and deceit. What about you? Do you have any rules?
Um, I think in general, I'm like a person who goes with the flow, but I do know, like, I guess later in my dating journey, I did tell myself that I'd never wanted to dumb myself down for a guy or just like,
Mm, be
you know,
yourself.
right. And like, we are smart women,
We
like,
are. Look at the glasses.
we're studied. But
Educated. Some of us a whole master's degree holder over here. Ah. I
yeah,
don't even know if I got my bachelor's degree, child. They never sent it.
but but it's like, I don't want to like have to like I don't want this to sound bad, but it's like I don't want to have to be like always explaining something to somebody or like
Yeah.
being like, or they're like,
You
oh, what
want
does
to
that
date someone on
mean?
your level. I get
Right.
it. And
Right.
level can mean lots of things. It can mean educational level, it can mean emotional level, like it can mean like entertainment level. Like if you don't if we have a whole book club and you don't read, like it's gonna be
Yeah.
a little rough.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I get that. I think something that happens a lot, as for me, I'll speak for myself, is like this idea that having rules for love kind of restricts you a little bit, or that it's offensive to people who don't kind of meet that role, that you're like having like standards that like push other people out. But something I'm learning about boundaries in therapy is that boundaries aren't meant to push people away, they're meant to call people in. Like the people who are your people you're going to know who they are based on how they meet your boundaries and how you meet theirs. So yeah, I'm pro boundaries. We're pro boundaries over at Knock in the Books. We have 9 minutes. I think get through a couple more questions. A scene that I really like in the book is when Bailey lets Cash tattoo her. It's like a really intimate but also funny, like, and also like just really creative scene, and was written really well by Talia Hibbert. Would you ever let someone tattoo you? Would you let a crush tattoo you? Or I'll even say a really good friend tattoo you.
Um, I feel
And
like
if
if I
so,
was
what would you get?
I feel like if I was gonna let a crush tattoo me, like I would have I would have already had the crush on them. Like I would have like found a tattoo artist that I want to tattoo me and then like be like, oh, he's really cute. And maybe I end up really digging his social media persona or whatever and be like, yeah, I gotta get tatted by him. I feel like that's the way it would work for me.
You're like pulling a reverse cash, like how he found the barista who is Bailey, and it's like, oh, let me get all the drinks made by this person, and maybe they'll fall in love with me after I drink my umpteenth cup of coffee. I get
And I'd be
it.
like, then I'd be like, yeah, you have to do this tattoo like right my sternum. You gotta
Right,
tap my sternum.
right between the tits. Like you
Yeah,
gotta get right in
right
there.
there.
I ain't letting no man draw me. I think it's a super intimate moment. Like, I think that's like really adorable. I'm just really anti like joint tattoos, like a joint tattoo experience. Like the body is so personal. I have a lot of friends with matching tattoos, and I know couples with matching tattoos, and I think I'm just not that brave. I just can't do it. Although I did get my first tattoo the month that we read this book. It's on my hands. I have a little sun on my hands. So yay. And now I kind of and now I'm like I want some more. So like maybe I'll let someone just randomly use my body as a canvas. But yeah, I just letting a nice tattoo artist graze my thighs, however, that's fine. Like please do more of that. That's fine. Where are we? Where are we? Speaking of bodily touching, there were some really romantic moments in this book, but there were also some very, like I said, really like some what the fuck moments that happen in this book. I would like to know some of your on your scale from cutest to creepiest. What were the moments that stood out to you?
I mean, I kind of already mentioned, but I liked when they were at Cash's family's home and Cash's mom told Bailey like the story of everything, and they ended up like hugging and stuff and having a really tender moment. That was really nice. Now
Yeah,
on the
sweet.
other end,
Like the day before this happened, maybe. I think
yeah,
is when
yeah,
I
pretty
saw it
much.
down.
Like Bailey deciding to give her boss fellatio in the office while the door is unlocked, like anybody
In the
in
front
the
desk,
front.
and
Yeah,
you just introduced the concept to me that it completely slipped. Like that was her boss. Like
yeah.
there are so many boundaries crossed in that moment. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
will say
Why was
though,
that creepy?
I mean, that's just a lot. Like you can't do this some other time or like after the place closes, like because I think, yeah, when he gave her the tattoo, wasn't he like, or no, they were talking about the tattoo. Didn't he like suck
Yeah.
her nipples or something that night? But I
Yeah, so
feel like the
like
door
no,
was
the
locked
day
then.
before he had fixed her heater and like randomly kissed her because she looked really hot in sweatpants. And then the next day she came over, it was just them in there, and then she was just like, we don't have to do anything, we can just fuck. Here, I'll prove it to you by like sucking his dick in the middle of the office. And then later that afternoon, they go through like the tattoo consultation, and that's I think when he like sucks on her nipples and stuff. And then like they're like, oh no, never mind. And the next day they get the tattoo. They don't actually have sex until they get to his mama's house, which again,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah. Okay, I think that's fair. Speaking of tattoo, that's actually one of my creepier moments. Like we eventually see at the mom's house, like Bailey goes through Cash's sketchbook and she sees like all these drawings that he's made of her before they've ever even had a conversation, when he was just basically stalking her at the coffee house, and he had drawn all these pictures of her butt ass naked, legs ajar, titties to the ceiling, and it's just like, I'm sorry, that is weird. That is weird. Like you don't even know this girl. That's if he if she didn't like him, that would be some Dateline
Yeah.
behavior. That is first 48. That's weird. That's Law and Order. Clank clank. It's awful. What was my cute moment? Hold on. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm making so many moments for you to edit, and I apologize. Um, my cute moment. Sorry, I opened my doc and the first word is fellatio.
That's my fault.
It's okay. My cute moment it happens near the very beginning when Bailey quits her job at the coffee shop and she and Cash kind of just band together to help John out, and especially when Cash calls John and is like, "Hey, you got a job interview." Like I just think that is it's just it's such a an example of the ease with which we can distribute wealth in society. Like, you don't gotta give people money. You kind of just gotta give people opportunities. Like, Cash knew a guy that could hook this man up, and it was a perfect job for John. It was working at a shelter, and like it was helping other people. And I just loved that scene, just warmed my heart, and it made me feel just really hopeful during the holiday season. We never acknowledged our holiday garb.
Oh yeah.
We're in
Yeah.
big Jim formation. Jim's another character in the book who loves Christmas decorations. Melissa over here rocking the tinsel. Me with
Yeah.
my Rudolphs. But yeah.
All right. This is something I literally just thought about this morning. But do we think this book should have been longer?
I appreciate the novella length of it. I think it allows, I appreciate novella in general. I think it allows you to get a lot of reading done without taking up so much time. And I do think that Talia Hibbert was able to put a lot into the story in under 200 pages. However, if the book was longer, I think the romance would have had a more slow burn and a more earned conclusion or culmination of their romance if the novel was a bit longer, and we could have gotten a lot more character development. Like I liked Jim and the old gruff guy who worked in the tattoo shop who I can't remember. They never picked that up again. He
Yeah.
has a crush on the girl and he's just like, well, I can't do nothing for her. The end. Like that was that was it. And I'm like, oh damn, like they don't deserve to be happy too. And like you said earlier, we could have got more fleshed out versions of Bailey and Cash's childhood, like maybe more first person perspective flashbacks, as opposed to just the narrator telling us what they're thinking about what they experienced. So yeah, I think if it was longer, I might have even enjoyed the story a little bit more than I already did. Like I think it definitely could have been
Mhm.
just an extra 100 pages. Could have been great. But I ain't mad at what we got. I appreciate it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the book, but I definitely would have liked it to be longer. Um, like for all the reasons that you said, and to like get more of a resolution, I guess. Like instead of it just
Yeah.
ending and being like, everything's okay now,
The
maybe
ending was
being
so
like,
confusing to me because like they were in the snow and then like they it's just and I'm like, how did she hurt her leg? And like and then
they were in the
he's
snow arguing.
yeah, we gonna do that.
And like, look, I'm
But
cold,
it's
I'm going
fine.
in. I
I'm
don't know
it's
about
like,
you.
can we go in the car? We can have this conversation on the heated seats. Like, it don't need to be this way. Um, but no, like they were in the snow arguing. I didn't even think like I couldn't they never even addressed the thing they should have been arguing about how he embarrassed the absolute fuck out of her on Christmas Day. Like you could have like it was just all these conversations of like, oh gosh, I understand you now. Sorry, if you aren't aware, the book is based in England in the UK and the audiobook is read in the accent. The audiobook narrator does such a good job of distinguishing the voices and making the sex scenes not as awkward as they could be when you're listening to someone else say, oh gosh, ooh, yes, Bailey. Like it's weird. It is still weird, but it's just like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, she's all in the snow, like, oh gosh, I understand like what happened in your past. Your mom told me, and he's just like, you gotta stay away from me, Bailey. I wanted to kill him. And I'm like, well, duh, you wanted to kill him. The man was trying to kill you. Like, it's still self-defense. Like, just kill him first. Like, it's not fine. Murder's bound. But yeah, it's just like y'all aren't even getting to the root of it. And then it's just like, oh, let me carry you home. And she's like, okay. And then they're married with children on the next page. It's like there was no resolution. There was no comeuppance for Cash's behavior. Like it was just like, all right, we're done. So yeah, maybe we could have gotten a better resolving of their conflict. And their own personal traumas as well. Yeah, make it longer. Um, who would you cast? We do this every episode where we try to picture the real life version of the characters that we read about. Who would you cast in the cinematic version of Mary Inkmas?
Okay, so this was hard for me because I was like, I had to pick British actors because I was like, I don't know who I know. So of course I didn't do that. Um, but I will say I'm gonna listen to the audiobook one day because in my head when I was reading it, I was not reading like it in a British accent at all. Not until they got to the mom because she says like British
Yeah,
things. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
had no
You're like,
choice.
oh shit, we're in London. Oh
Right.
man, didn't
I
know.
forgot. So okay. So let's see. Who did I say for cash? Oh, okay. Um, when I was looking up like covers of the book,
Mm,
there was one cover and it actually had a guy on it, and he reminded me of the guy from the show Reacher,
mm,
like Jack Reacher. It was an Alan
mm,
Richson. So I was like, okay, because he's big and
mm.
tall and very like, yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Um, so yeah, for Bailey, thought of this morning too, because I was drawing a blank for the whole time. Her name is Courtney Taylor, and she was in a few episodes of Insecure. She was Issa's like assistant when they had the block party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because she has locks and like I like
Yeah,
the
that's
body,
cute.
it's bodying. So I could see her as Bailey. Like she gives Bailey to me.
Totally. So my Cash isn't a white guy, I don't think. He is the guy who owns the coffee shop in the Netflix drama Jenny and Georgia. I think his name is Raymond a black, but he is
Okay.
not a black. He is something else. But
He's
he is
Indian,
a
right?
very, yeah, I think he's South Asian. He is a very handsome
He's
man.
gorgeous.
He is gorgeous with a
I
nice
mean,
beard. And again, four arms like the legs of a table. Like it is just mm, like that is a tasty man.
so
And can't you just picture him covered in tats? Yeah, what?
I know him from Degrassi originally, because when I looked
Really?
him up, I
The
was like,
next generation?
he yeah, yeah. Because he was like in the later seasons of it though. Probably at
Oh,
the time I stopped watching really, but he what was his
yeah.
name? He was Sav, and he had a younger
Okay.
sister, and she was like the new Manny, kind of. But
Okay, Degrassi High, stand up.
yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, that's him. But he was also on Working Moms, because when I saw him on
Yes.
that, I had to look him up, and I was like, who is this guy? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, he's
He's
hot.
a working mom too. I didn't know you watched Working Moms. Working Moms is my show. I love that show. Um, And for Bailey, and I don't know if this is just because she's everywhere right now and deservedly so, but I casted Adibri from currently starring on The Bear on FX. She just perfectly encapsulates the sexy but quirky but unassuming but smartassery that I think you need and to play Bailey. Just a woman of contradictions who's also really hot. So
Yes.
that's who I casted. And this isn't a real person, but I pictured Jim as like Tonks from the Harry Potter novels, like just like
Oh,
a really young Tonks with like pink hair and like secretly magic. Like that's
okay.
just who I
That's
picked.
cute.
Like a fan art of Tonks.
I pictured Jim as, she might be too young, but the girl from Wednesday who played Wednesday's roommate.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. I think she just has a young face. I think that girl's like in her 20s. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, that's actually perfect. That's a perfect gem. I prefer that gem for sure. She could play a young Tonks, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah,
They were doing
we
it.
just picked up a whole bunch of people from the Netflix cast
Yeah, right.
lineup. Maybe Netflix could buy the rights to the film. Okay. Star rating. What would you rate this book on a scale of 1 to 5 stars?
I give it 3.5, just because
Okay.
of, some of the things that I wanted more of, were
Mm,
missing. And it wasn't like a rave for me. And like
yeah.
some books I have like a physical response to when I'm reading. Like I'll be reading and I'll be like, "Ah, ah, I didn't
Yeah,
expect that
yeah.
with this." So yeah.
I get you. I think for similar reasons, I'm going to give it a 2.5. One, because I've just read better Talia Hibbert and better Talia Hibbert sex scenes. Talia Hibbert writes male pleasure very well. Like I really appreciate that. And female pleasure too, but that like male pleasure is kind of my kink. Not that that's any of your business, but whatever.
But I told you anyway.
Told you anyway. But I agree. Like there's nothing that like was really memorable for me. Like I had to read it twice in like a 3 week span because I couldn't remember anything that had happened in it. And I had read it before years ago, and I still couldn't remember anything that had happened in it. So it didn't stand out to me. Two is not a bad book for me. 0 or 1 is like that is a bad book. Two is like it's okay. Three is a good book. Four is a great book. Five is like a fave, like a favorite book. Like it sticks with me forever. So yeah, it's like 2.75 stars for me, 2.75 stars. Like there's nothing I didn't like about it, but I think I just wanted a little bit more. So yeah. It's 12/12, make a wish. Would you recommend this book to others? And or like what other books would you recommend? Books or films or anything would you recommend to people who read Mary Inkmas and liked it or are looking for something just that's similar? I gotta
Um,
think about this too a little bit.
I think I would recommend it. Like, if somebody wants to read something light and, of course, Christmassy. And I feel like if you like Hallmark movies, you would like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. If you like contrived romances, oh will they, won't they? A like, oh, like girl starts a new job and she can't date the boss type vibes, definitely get into it. I definitely recommend any of Talia Hibbert's other books. Like She does a really good job of writing complex characters in really sexy situations. Um, I also, if you like this book, I recommend a trip to Starbucks or your local tattoo parlor. I think you'll get similar vibes. You'll be in the ambiance of the story. Enjoy a peppermint latte, sip on that while someone is jamming a needle into your thigh. And also also watch Beauty and the Beast. There's lots of mention of Disney movies in this book. And Beauty and the Beast, I think, is the perfect one for this one.
Mm. Oh, I also think if you like this, you probably like the book 7 Days in June, just because it has the aspect of like the mom who's kind of like,
Mm,
very, very beautiful, gets what she wants from men, and how it affects the daughter and how her outlook on relationships. It's similar in that sense. Everything else,
yeah.
probably not.
Mary Inkmas is like a chicken wing, and like 7 Days in June is like a Cornish hen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it is a much meatier book, but it's great romance, great sex, great characters. Same with Mary Inkmas. So that was Mary Inkmas, everybody. I
Yay.
hope you had a Mary Inkmas. Melissa, what is our next book that we're going to read together
Our
and
next book,
discuss later?
our next book is going to be The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forest. Yes.
Yay!
And so that one is about a young Black woman. She's a bookworm. And there's this author. He's written a really great book, but he kind of fell off the face of the earth. But she ends up writing him, and he does respond, but then she doesn't hear from him again. So she has this neighbor, and like he's trying to help her, like, find this guy. But it turns out he actually is the guy. That's not really a spoiler, like that's in the
Mhm.
description. So you see how that all pans out. So I'm excited to read this one. It comes very highly recommended.
Ooh, I love books about books and writers and authors. Another reason to read 7 Days in June, actually. Surprise, this episode is just about 7 Days in June. Another book that we read for our book club and that strongly recommend. Definitely check it out. But I'm excited to read The Neighbor Favor. I like romance because the tropes are, although they are predictable, every author does it in a different way, like mistaken identity, grumpy and sunshine, lovers to friends, like close proximity. I just like seeing how it's all going to turn out. And we know it's going to have a happy ending. So I'm looking forward to The Neighbor Favor. Great pick, Melissa. So we'll see y'all later when we read it.
All right. Join us next
Bye.
time. Bye.
Bye.